We start with four young friends getting their first taste of sweet, sweet Chiba. Our foursome walks into the nearby convenience store after the herb has no effect. Upon entrance, all four boys have an experience they will never forget. From that day on, the crew found their fifth member and they are hooked. We move to the current day. The four lifelong stoners and friends, Thurgood, Scarface, Brian, and Kenny, live together in New York City. Thurgood is a janitor at a medical lab, Scarface works the grill at a local fast food joint, Kenny is a successful kindergartner teacher, and Brian works at a local record store. New York has plenty of plugs, but there's one problem. Options as to who to purchase from are highly limited. So Thurgood decides to use the most convenient method and order some herb from the famous local mogul, Samson, and the four decide to take Billy Bong Thornton for a ride. They send Kenny, the gentle kindergarten teacher, out on a munchie run. Brian gives him an order that takes 2 minutes to complete. When he leaves, Kenny tells the group if he's not back in 10 minutes, call the cops, to which Thurgood says, if he's not back in 10 minutes, we're calling Domino's. Kenny walks out of a pizzeria holding the 2 large pizzas as requested and all of the other requested goods in 2 huge bags. When he sees a local horse cop, he wants to give it a treat and feeds him some candy-coated popcorn. Move to the rest of the gang at home watching their favorite rapper, Sir Smoke-A-Lot, rapping about Samson, giving us an idea of how wide-scale his empire reaches and also prompting Thurgood to feel pride in the fact that they share the same dealer. Kenny ends up feeding the horse all of his food and is arrested for accidentally killing what turns out to be a diabetic police horse. Poor Officer Buttercup never stood a chance. His bail is set at $1 million due to the fact that Buttercup was an officer of the law. Kenny ends his evening crying in a jail cell. His friends are worried for his safety and they find out that Kenny called, much thanks to the guy on the couch. The gang goes down to jail and learn that they need to raise 10% of $1 million to be able to finalize things. The gang promises to bail him out before the other prisoners take advantage of his gentle nature. While leaving the jail, Thurgood notices a woman left her purse and returns it flirtatiously. Her name is Mary Jane, and she was visiting her father. She offers the boys a ride home. Brian and Scarface antagonize the duo on the ride home after Thurgood asks her out for ice cream. Thurgood is asked one day by a scientist at the lab to get a pound of cannabis from storage, and Thurgood freaks out when he realizes what the scientist had him get. An entire pound of the good stuff. Thurgood is shaking so much that he can barely sign his name and grab it. The grateful scientist thanks Thurgood for the good deed by giving him some free herb. Thurgood brings it home to his buddies and they each take a puff and are overcome with sensation. It's the greatest kush they've ever smoked. It's so good they fly around New York. They check in on Kenny only to see him having a breakdown. When the boys come back to reality, Scarface gets the idea to have Thurgood steal medicinal herb from his work so that the three of them can sell it to raise money to free Kenny. It's at this moment that the gang realizes they truly can save Kenny. They pull together all their money and buy bikes to head around town giving out free products. The next day, Mary Jane calls Thurgood to set a date. He asks her to go out right away and only after hanging up remembers that he's out of money. They had just spent everything to start their company, Mr. Nice Guys. They walk around town as Thurgood tries to use the last $8 to complete the date. He manages to get things set, buying her a hot dog, but she last minute wants to take a cab for ice cream. He spends his last bit paying for the cab, but is lucky enough to rob a homeless beggar's cup for enough to buy ice cream. Thurgood swears to Mary Jane that he doesn't smoke herb, and they end up doing the vertical tango. Later, the guys are selling around town, where we meet all of our stereotype stoners, such as the scavenger smoker played by none other than Snoop Dogg. Scarface quits his job by cursing out everyone he dislikes. Brian, on the other hand, ends up getting fired. He asks who's coming with him, and Jane decides to quit and come with him. She takes over the phone lines and helps organize the business towards success. After a short while, the gang receives a call from a very important client, none other than Sir Smoke-A-Lot, ordering a whole pound of Swedish Chiba for $9,600. He invites Thurgood to smoke with him and chill. Thurgood excitedly agrees, and it ends up becoming like a personal therapy session. But thanks to his compliance, Mr. Nice Guys now has a big celebrity client. We then meet some more fun smokers, such as the I'm only creative when I smoke smoker and the MacGyver smoker. But Mary Jane dumps Thurgood when she finds out that he is dealing the green stuff. Mr. Smoke-A-Lot drops a song featuring Mr. Nice Guys and things explode. When the success of the friends' business grows enough to raise the ire of their competitor, Samson Simpson, Samson extorts them for $20,000 a week. Thurgood visits Mary Jane after she breaks up with him and promises to be completely sober. He decides that it was time for him to get healthy, so he thinks that rehab is the best idea. He gets chastised by characters in the crowd featuring Bob Saget. The friends plan a robbery of the medical lab to increase their earnings enough to both fend off Samson and free Kenny, but are arrested when they try to execute the plan. Thurgood strikes a deal with the police to wear a wire to a meeting with Samson in exchange for freeing Kenny and dropping the charges against him and his friends. They meet with Samson, but their plan is exposed when the police detectives fail to arrive as backup since they're high. However, Thurgood and his friends are able to talk out Samson's henchwomen, and Samson's taken out by the ghost of Jerry Garcia. The police detectives arrive soon after to arrest Samson and his henchwomen, while Thurgood and his friends are released from police custody. Thurgood meets with Mary Jane to tell her he's giving up his old habits and wants to get back together. The film ends with their reuniting. Thurgood now has a new type of Mary Jane to fill his life.